Welcome, Collective, to another great episode of Brews and Builds. And this episode could not have been done except by our amazing patrons. Whether you're part of the Collective, Squeeze Choir, BigTucks, MrCombo, Storm Count, it doesn't matter. We love you guys and thank you for the support.
Oh, here we are.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 123 of CMD
Wow, we're
Towers
figuring it
Brews and
out.
Builds. I'm MrCombo number 5, and my fellow host is having way too much fun with our new audio recording software,
Yes.
BigTuck.
Our new audio recording software, our new main sponsor of the channel, our replacements, our new way of life. I am here. We are talking about Redacted until they start paying us.
Well, guys, if you would like to help us out financially with our community, with us getting new products to make stuff better for you guys, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. We do have 4 different tiers. Starts at just $1 a month on up. You get a lot of different value with it. The biggest one that I wanted to highlight is no matter what tier you sign up for, if you've ever wanted a platform for yourself to be able to speak, give thoughts on cards or mechanics, we're starting the Collective Diagnosis. This is something that's open to every tier of our Patreon. Every 3 months, we're going to poll 10 of our community members about a topic and let you guys record your own audio, write a little paragraph about how you feel, and then me and Tuck are going to talk about it, give you our thoughts and feelings, and kind of make it a great community episode. And if you're a part of our top tier, every 3 months, you're going to be on Brews and Builds. So we're going to have you here in the amazing Zencaster to, do anything we can to do weird sound effects like this, that we are going to put out there. So it's a great community. Definitely should join. And I'll say this, the Discord's been getting a lot more rambunctious over the last few weeks.
I feel like there's...
one could say it's preview season.
It's it's unfortunate that I had to drop from Brews and Build or from Action 4 this year for the foreseeable future. But one thing one pro of that is I'm actually excited about spoilers. So we don't need to get into that here, but anyway.
Well, another benefit of being a part of our patron community is our referral program. So if you're an existing patron and you recommend someone to join, we'll end up sending you something as a thank you. Depending on what tier, it could kind of depend on what we end up sending out. But grow the collective through your friends and family. Guilt them. It works.
It always works.
Now, if you'd like to pick up some of our great merchandise, head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do have our foil playmat. And yes, my basement is filled with CMD Tower sweaters.
Oh,
please,
they're here.
They're here. Go buy them for the love of Christ. Apparently 70 sweaters weighs 100 pounds and takes up 1/2 of my basement.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, it
just
does.
Like 2 giant boxes?
Well, it was until I had to separate them for sizes. So now it's like the ottoman's completely covered. Half of the couch is covered. I got one, like the extra large sweater stack is like toppling over because there's so many.
That's incredible.
Now, this episode, is brought to you by Zencaster, but also our amazing editor at _Tcoats. Tyler does do the video and audio for this Brews and Builds episode. So definitely give him a little thank you, a little shout out for putting together this great stuff for you. And of course, the free way is just share the content you're watching and or listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, tackled tons of EDH themes, we're going to be discussing, or rather, theory crafting a new deck that doesn't even exist yet. Each month will consist of new decks, and we correlate how these decks are constructed similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. That's grains.
And grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're a mix of staples and specialty cards.
So without further ado, let's get brewing. Today, we're talking only creatures, no problem. Yes, I should have known Alter the Bird can't go in the deck because it's literally 3 sentences below my show notes. We're talking Nikara, Lair Scavenger, Yannik Scavenging Sentinel, and Umori the Collector. Let's start with the ramp and grain section. BigTuck, what is the first card you want for this theory craft?
Okay. This one's a slam dunk, in my opinion, because all these cards are going to be worth their weight in gold. Because not only are they creatures, they are also lands.
Oh,
And the most efficient one, in my opinion, is our old pal, All Star, Tangled Florahedron. This card is incredible. A colorless and a green for a creature elemental doesn't matter. For a 1/1, also kind of doesn't matter. But more importantly, you can tap it for a green. So it's like a bad Llanowar Elves. But in a pinch, you can play it as a Tangled Veil, which enters the battlefield tapped and then adds a green to your mana pool. So I think this card and any of these MDFC creatures, even if they don't really fit the theme of the deck, are going to be worth so much. I mean, this card is 41 cents. It's effectively this deck's version of a rampant growth.
yeah.
And I just think that this is going to have a lot of length. I think this is going to have a lot of speed to it. And it's just really going to smooth out draws, smooth out mana bases. It's really kind of like, in my opinion, probably the best grain on my side that I have.
Opening hand, you just have this. Do you keep it?
Oh.
See, that's tough.
I don't think so. Let me actually no. And maybe in a normal deck that has ways out, maybe. In this deck, no. If I have anything less than 3 lands, I'm not keeping it.
That's fair.
There's way too big of a chance. But I don't know. Would you? If you have the only way I would is if I had another 1-drop that produced mana.
Here's the issue that I have. It's like if I don't draw a land off the top, I have a land in hand. I can play it. It comes in tapped even, so that's good for the turn 1. But it's like if you just get 1, I just need to get another because then I can play him on turn 2. But then if I don't get that second land, I still have a second land drop in hand. So it becomes one of those things of like the odds of your deck. And I think, Tuck, believe this deck could be a deck that you do 38 lands, 40 lands,
100%.
Just because you don't have as many consistent ways to ramp. So knowing if I had a 40 land deck and I just had that, I might be real greedy and keep
You might just get greedy enough. We'll have to see. We'll have to see, man. I like it. I like the optimism.
All right. Well, my first grain card is a uncommon from Forgotten Realms, coming in at a cool 6 cents.
Oh, nice.
And it's a modal card, so it'll do a couple things for you, which we love.
Sure.
Shesra, Death's Whisper. 2 colorless Golgari, that's going to be a black and green, legendary creature, human, elf, warlock. It's a 1/3. And she has 2 effects. And I hate this about Forgotten Realms, but it is what it is.
It is super dumb.
Bewitching Whispers. When Shesra enters the battlefield, target creature blocks his turn if able. Well, that sounds like a hop up and down. Like, hey, I got a big bad creature. You have to block, and I'm going to pick it off.
Right.
But here's where I think it's a grain, and actually I think you're going to have more of this happening in your deck because it's all creatures. Whispers of the Grave. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. I have this gut feeling that you're going to be sacking creatures to reuse effects on your turn, probably every turn cycle. Sure. And the fact that this doesn't require a mana payment, it's just life, makes it way better. If it was have to pay 2 colorless, draw a card, it's like, well, could I use that 2 for something else? Like, what's going on? But 2 life? Yeah, I'll pay 2 life.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And I think that we're going to be playing cards into this that just happen, that will potentially just happen to have lifelink, right?
Yep.
And I think the good part about the life loss is this deck is going to have so many creatures that you can just chump block. People are going to be incentivized from pretty much the turn 3 to not attack you because you're just going to have this board of shit that's just going to gum up anything. So that's awesome. I do agree with you. I hate that stupid. Here's what really pisses me off about it. They'll print cards that have landfill, but won't give the time of day to give it landfall, right?
Yeah.
It'll be like when a land enters battlefield, it's just landfall. Like, this is so much more confusing.
All right, Tuck, what's your number 2 pick for your grain?
So this is another 2-drop mana dork that sees some play in like Elf and Allies deck, but in here, what some people would call a restriction actually doesn't even matter. And we're talking about Beastcaller Savant. So
sure.
Colorless, yeah, exactly, right. A colorless and a green for 1/1 creature elf shaman ally with haste, and then it can tap and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Seems good. Spend that creature spend this mana only to cast a creature spell seems potentially bad. Oh, wait, this is cast every card in the deck. So it's got the haste, so if you get it late, you can immediately use it as like a mana rock. Has no restrictions. I think this card is going to be one of the better, most efficient ways to round out the mana curve.
So I'm going to say this. I completely failed you. All of your cards are like 50 cents. I was like, what cards can I get for 2 pennies? What can I get for a nickel?
But see, this is but like, that's perfect because you're like, now we're even in the curve, right? Like,
that's fair.
I totally get it. And I have a stack of cards that I already selected, and I went through, and most of them are in the budget range. But these, like, for example, I would immediately take Stressa over most of the cards that I have in that pile because it's what did you say it was? 2 cents?
6 cents.
6 cents. Yeah. So I'd rather just have that, and there will be a deck that works for it. So I think the ones I just made a quick look. I think about $1 is as high as it goes, which is
that's fair.
Probably going to be pushing it. But I think it's great that you found these super budget options, which I will need desperately.
But I will say this, guys, 52 cents. If you're doing a budget deck, it's weight worth in gold. This card is great. Even if you're not in a creature only deck, it's still a good ramp card. But the fact that it's creatures only is just gravy.
Yep, I completely agree.
All right, number 2. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm so excited.
All right, so this has only been printed once in Rise of the Eldrazi.
Okay.
It's a quarter.
Ooh.
We're talking Thought Gorger. 2 colorless black creature horror rare. It's a 2/2. It has trample. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each card in your hand, then discard your hand. That's okay.
Yeah,
we're having Graveyard Recursion, but here's why it's a grain card. When Thought Gorger leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on him. Well, Tuck, I want to point out some stuff.
Okay.
Yannik, when it enters the battlefield, exile another creature you control until Yannik leaves. Well, I'm going to choose Thought Gorger. Distribute X +1/+1 to where it's power. This thing's probably going to be at least a 5/5 or 6/6.
Sure.
So you're distributing all those counters, and then by the way, it had counters on it, so you're going to draw a card and lose a life.
Yeah, I love it. This is sweet. This is a good one, MrCombo. This is another great pull. This is also just greasy enough or slimy enough to potentially go into my horror deck, which we'll be talking about in a future episode. But yes,
there you go.
What a slam dunk! I see. This is why I need you. This is why I need you on this deck list.
But I was worried that the ETB discard your hand would deter you. That is the one thing I was worried about. But it doesn't say you don't, your maximum hand size is reduced by 7.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that you can't draw cards. It's just like if you had cards in hand when you played it or it came in, you got to get rid of them.
I think the thing that makes me feel, and also I think you can also think about this through the lens of like Umori. So this card for 4 is good. This card for 3 is insane. Yeah. Right. And I think the thing on this too is I also like that there's going to be a lot of ways to put counters on this. So even if you just plop this down as a 2/2 and you're like, I need these cards in my hands, eventually you're going to be able to slap counters on it and it can get up to a 5/5, a 7/7. And then it's 3.
It's not a May effect.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you're drawing the cards and you're discarding your hand. There is no May.
Okay. I still like it a lot. I still like it a ton. I think that does make it a little trickier to play around.
Yeah, I think for a quarter though, it's one of those, and that's actually the cool thing for the collective. When you're building a budget deck and you come across cards like this, that's like, I don't know, does it work? It never feels bad to try it because you were only out a nickel or a quarter,
exactly.
Not out $50 or $100.
And then this is like a slam dunk card to put in a cube or something like that, right? Like,
absolutely. Or if you have like some ridiculous like discard deck, like my Nicol Bolas deck probably wouldn't care about this. Right. Oh my gosh, Tuck, could you imagine doing this, then Fractured Identity to give it to your opponents, and then they all lose their hands?
That would be sweet. All right, I'm in. Thought Gorger, we're done.
All right,
it's gonna be in the deck for sure. 2 for 2 so far.
All right, Tuck, give us your last grain then.
So this is the most pricey card I have at $147, and I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, it's a big one, which may not be worth it, but its enchantment varietal is worth like 4 times that. So we've talked about this one before. This used to be kind of a pet cards of ours, and I think we kind of fell off a little bit, but Bloodgift Demon. So good. 3 colorless, double black for a creature demon, 5/4 flyer. At the beginning of your upkeep, target player draws a cards and lose a life. So it's effectively like a little bit slower of a Phyrexian Arena, right? I think we're gonna have enough creatures to get Umori out, or Umori, whatever you want to call it, out early enough to where this would probably come down for 4, which is only one more than Phyrexian Arena. And then I also like the fact that the 5 toughness or the 5 power plays into the Yannick of the whole Yannick of the situation. 5/4 flyer is a pretty good deterrent and also is a pretty good attacker if you need to start getting that chip damage in. The problem is the 147, right? I really got.
I didn't realize it had only been printed twice.
Yeah, right. Isn't that crazy? Because I have I feel like at some point I had 8 copies of this card lying around, right? And maybe it's gone up because it's been more rare, and there's some demon decks that I can't think of off the top of my head that would care. But I like the fact it draws you cards. I like the fact it has a big body. I just don't like the fact that it's $1 and change.
And I like the fact that if your life total does get low enough, because this is not a May effect, you can start forcing your opponents to draw cards and lose life. It's nice to be able to deter that sometimes.
Absolutely. And
it's kind of like
to be playing against a guy, a Nekuzar or Tiny Bones or whatever, where you don't want to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that.
But yeah, the $1.47, it's something that Oob talked about this week on the Budget Shop. And Tuck, I think you'll really like this parallel. He was like, when I first got married, we were on a very tight budget. It's, really nickel and diming everything. So he was like, hey, I love to eat cereal and I love to drink soda. So instead of getting the name brand soda, I went and got Shasta. Instead of getting Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I got like Cinnamon Toast Squares, whatever the off-brand is. And he was like, the Cinnamon Toast Squares, it was fine. It got the job done. It tasted okay. Yes. Could I tell the difference if I ate a normal bowl? Yes. But did it scratch my itch? It absolutely did. And he was like, the Shasta, though, literally nothing. Like, tasted nothing like it. I couldn't stand it. And so I think this is where Blood Gift Demon is kind of like the Cinnamon Toast Squares of the story. Sure. It's not as good as Phyrexian Arena, because it does cost 2 more mana on its face than Arena does. But it pretty much gets the job done for a couple mana more. And for like $8 or $9 less, or $10 less. Yep. The difference would be is like if you tried to say, hey, Sign in Blood is just as good as Phyrexian Arena or Blood Gift Demon. It's like, no, you're kind of off base there. So I definitely look at this as a little watered down version, but this is the perfect budget thing. It's just $1.47. If you had a $100 budget, you're good. $50, ooh.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
All right. Well, my last one is a card from Strixhaven.
Ooh.
This card you can pick up for 17 cents.
Damn, nice.
We are talking Shyle, Dean of Radiance, and Embros, Dean of Shadow. So, colorless white, legendary creature, bird cleric, rare. It's a 1/1. It's flying vigilance. And when you tap Shyle, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Well, we just talked about when creatures leave, you get to draw a card, so that's perfect. And Embros, Dean of Shadow, you could tap him, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. Then Embros, Dean of Shadow deals 2 damage to that creature. And then whenever a creature you control with a +1 counter on it dies, draw a card. So even though your commander says leaves the battlefield, dies, same thing.
Sure.
So this could kind of double any death with counters, you know, drawing 2 cards. I really like the tap, be able to deal 2 damage and put a +1/+1 counter on something.
Sure.
Maybe it's a Birds of Paradise and I just need to bop it down. But I think actually the white side is going to be the one that you're going to play the most.
And I feel like I love these modal cards or these dual cards or whatever, right? Because they both fit I think that sort of choice is so critical to the deck, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head. The price for this, the Dean that I had, I actually was going to put in, but it's over $1 at the cheapest, and I don't like it. So the budget's there on this, the utility's there. This is sort of a backup commander-ish if you're in the right situation. Slam dunk especially for 7 cents or 17 cents or whatever it ends up being.
So does that mean I was 3 for 3? Holy crap!
Hit a thing.
We're just doing them all.
All of them. Run them all.